Tell me a little about, forgive me for saying this, it looks like a piece of rusty metal. What is it actually made of?
Yes, it is a piece of rusty metal, in the same way as the Angel of the North is a rusty piece of steel. It's called corten steel. It's actually quite a sophisticated steel that it rusts so far, unlike your car, it will stop. Your car will go and disintegrate this well. This is a really special event. It came out of the project from the National Museum in Glenmorangie, and the commission asked particularly to look at the early medieval silver. And from that I gathered thoughts, impressions, informations, and imagined a different world, a different society, a different culture, way before our culture. Although as a metalworker I emphasize and have a lot of understanding, because the tools and a lot of the technique hasn't changed over the millennia. So I really feel closely with them.
So did you actually use fairly primitive tools to make this, or were you using modern techniques?
I'm an old-fashioned person. I like to make models, and I scaled things up by hand through drawings. I didn't use a computer. I used computers for photograph, but other than that, apart from the occasional cutting tool that was electrically driven, the welding was electrically driven as well. But everything else, it's lots of filing, lots of marking out by hand, and in that way, because this is from 700 to 1,000 that I was looking at, those people didn't have electrical light, so the working hours were different. And
why have Glenmorangie chosen the National Museum of Scotland to support in this way?
Well, we've been a partner of theirs for the last 12 years. It was done for a very specific reason way back then, which was our adoption of a piece of sculpture, a panel on a piece of sculpture that is downstairs here in the Early People Gallery, the 8th century Hilton of Cadwell stone, which is a Pictish, very famous Pictish sculpture. And that, the lower panel, we adopted as our logo back in 2008. And that was discovered near the distillery. So, if you like, its sense of place, from where we come from where the distillery comes from, sense of place it drove that idea. And now, of course, the partnership with all its artistic and cultural connects is really about Scotland as a whole. So this 8th century bit of sculpture has been the inspiration right the way through, but actually the museum has been able to spin off that and do recreations inspired by the collections here. Basically the period 300 AD to 1200 AD. And this latest period, 900 to 1200, is when Scotland became a nation. So all these tribes came together, eventually becoming Scotland as we know it. Well, not as we know it today, but the early stages of a kingdom. And Simone's piece was a conscious effort by us in the museum to as it were, contemporize all this and sort of spring it into a different part of the gallery, the museum. So it's going to be in the making and creating gallery.